Welcome to the FasCat podcast. I'm Frank Overton, and the FasCat coaches and I are here to take your training to the next level.
And I'm Ben Delaney, and in each episode we'll share our combined 75 years of experience, from coaching Tour de France pros to master Janes and Joes.
At FasCat, we're on a mission to share our knowledge to help you ride faster and have more fun while training. If you listen closely, you should be able to feel yourself getting faster. What's up, FasCat Nation? Big Cat here, along with
Ben Delaney. How are you, folks?
What's up?
Today we are talking about alternative movements to the holy trinity of FasCat weightlifting movements, the squat, the leg press, and the leg curl. This is our 8th and final off-season how-to series podcast, and next week we are doing an Ask a FasCat episode for questions on you may have had about any of these topics.
Word on the street is we have 82 entries. Is that correct?
Yeah, we've already got 82 questions in the hopper.
Yeah.
This may or may not have something to do with the fact that we put up a sweet Castelli custom FasCat kit, jersey, and bib shorts for the winner of the best question. If you'd like to get in on that, you've got until October 3rd. Send us a question. You can go through the typical methods: email, bat signal, smoke signal, or if you go to our Instagram, you can just follow the link in bio. That'll take you straight to the form. Ask us a question, give us your name and email. We will put that name in the hopper for a Castelli kit, sweet kits. And again, that's October 3rd. Tuesday is your deadline for that.
Looking forward to that. Yeah, we may need to edit down and may have to record a bonus episode to get all the questions in. We've done that before. So we'll see. I need to go through your submissions and edit everything and take a look. But thank you all for all your submissions. That's incredible.
Yeah, it's great. We love the back and forth conversation. Like, this podcast obviously is a one-way street of Frank and I yapping at you, but we very much appreciate, offline, certainly with the coaches and their one-on-one businesses, and then in the Optimize app, just having the conversations in a two-way form. So we appreciate you. In this one-way form today, we're talking about things like alternatives to the squat, the Smith machine, the Smith machine, the front squat, single-legged lunges with kettlebells or barbells, a deadlift with the trap bar, kettlebell swings, the Viper, our favorite 12-minute video, foundations, and other bits like yoga, crunches, hip mobility, back extensions. So we will be getting into these things of what you should do, why you should do them, when and how. But first, let's catch up on where we are at the end of September here. We've got the Rad coming up this weekend down in Trinidad.
About three and a half hours south of here.
3 hours south of here.
Yeah.
Keegan Swinson and Sofia Gomez Villafane are skipping it because they have been winning with such wild abandon. They can just skip one of the two races that they can drop.
Yeah, they can mathematically opt out.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I'm planning to head down there. The plan a while ago was to race, but plans get sideways, and right now I'm in the thick of a kitchen remodel that has me working a lot and sleeping very little and riding none at all. So that may just be going down and enjoying the day, enjoying the aid stations, and
hey,
a lot of different ways to do it.
Listeners, this may sound familiar. Life gets in the way, although we do recommend no kitchen remodels until the off season. But Ben's pretty close to it. So, but there was also some things. But life and flexibility. Seems to be a theme.
Yeah, and events. Just to be perfectly clear, this is like not an A event for me that I've been pointed towards with great specificity in training. I was like, oh, this will be a fun thing to do, like a long mountain bike ride in the fall, like that level of ride.
Yeah.
So looking forward to doing that.
Yeah, I am on the fence. I thought about doing the rad.
Yeah.
But I've been out of town for the past 2 weekends, and I've missed the Aspens so far. So I think I'm going to head up to Netherlands.
Yeah.
And get out on the mountain bike and ride in the Aspens on my mountain bike. I've missed it so far this year.
I think this weekend will be just about perfect. Last weekend, there was already a good amount of yellow, no oranges or reds yet, so it should probably be prime season up there. How about BWR Kansas or Big Sugar for you a little further down the road? I know we've been talking about those a while back of the final Belgian Waffle Ride race in Lawrence and then Big Sugar down in Bentonville.
Yeah, kind of similar to your situation. I've had some life come up and the one thing that keeps pulling me in is I've always wanted to do both of these races, and Lawrence is only an 8-hour drive from here, and I don't mind doing that. What I'm having trouble is figuring out is, do I come back after Lawrence and then go back to Bentonville, or do I go from Lawrence to Bentonville and then I need to find lodging for the whole week? And I haven't solved that for that yet. So I'm still on the fence, and
so listeners, if you have a series of houses in between Lawrence and Bentonville, host a Big Cat. What do we do? Ask a FasCat. This could be host a Big Cat.
You could win. You could win the host the Big Cat. Yeah, wouldn't that be something?
Yeah. Let's do some reviews and some announcements. You want to take the first review here, and I'll read the second one?
Yeah. So this is a podcast review. Thank you very much. We asked for more last episode, and you delivered. And keep them coming. It helps us reach more listeners on the podcast feed. So this user says, 5 stars, self-coach cyclist with 10 years structured training, finally submitting a review. Why, thank you. By far my favorite training podcast. Frank's straightforward techniques work if you FTFP. Really happy with Ben Delaney's addition to the team. Go Ben. Been a fan for years, and he seemed like a perfect fit for the podcast. Awesome. Keep the episodes coming, and much appreciated. And thanks. I want to say one thing. So the question, if you FTP. Now, we definitely recommend it's like, if you've seen like medicine, the small print on medicine, it says for best results.
Yep.
You know, that's kind of how I think about FTP. For the best results, FTFP. But if you need to be flexible, we got the ways to be flexible for you. And that's the whole podcast today, is if you can't squat or if you can't do a leg press, we're going to talk about the alternative movement. So it's not like this is one and done. You just got a FTP or nothing at all. That's like where you want to try to start.
Sure. Yeah, and that's good advice for any training in general. It's not all or nothing. For best results, yes, follow the plan exactly as laid out.
Yeah.
But if and when things do happen, it's not like all hope is lost and just hang it up until next year.
Yeah. And that's why we recorded the 5 Fundamentals podcast, consistency. Yeah.
Another review coming from Ruben S., who had this to say. I started the season with a 16-week sweet spot plan and used a progression plan suggested by the coaching staff throughout the season. My A event was a Mountain Grand Fondo, followed 3 weeks later by my first double century with 8,700 feet of climbing. Ouch.
Yeah.
I completed both events and can honestly say that without the plans and countless questions answered by the FasCat staff, I probably wouldn't have even tried the double. After the taper plan, I was told to, quote, trust the training and the plans, end quote. Simply put, it all worked, and I'm looking forward to another year of improvement with another annual subscription. I've used several other training plans, but the 6-week plans and innumerable combinations, as well as the in-app coaching support, are far and away the best bang for my buck that I have found. Thank you, and keep up the great work, FasCat.
Awesome, Ruben. Thank you so much. And when you said trust the training and the plans, I totally remember that, you asking that question, because I detected that you were going to want to ride some more than what the plan called for. And that's why we said, just trust the plan. Because like
in the few days leading up to the big event, he wanted to ride. He was wanting to ride more, you think?
Yeah. So he's on the taper plan, and the taper plan honestly is, it it makes athletes nervous because they're not used to not riding that much, and they're so amped for their event. They're like, I mean, they would go out and ride too much. And really what the taper plan gets athletes to do is rest more than they're comfortable with. That's why it works. And so that's why we said, trust the training plan. And sure enough, Ruben here did, and he crushed it, and it works. Yeah. Good job, Ruben. Way to FTFP.
Yeah, absolutely. Coaching isn't all about somebody yelling at you to do more. Sometimes it's do less. Some announcements. We've got some exciting ones. We've got a training camp on the books for early April 7 to 12 next year in California. This is a place that you have been to with a few pro team camps, right? Tell us about where this is going to be, this all-inclusive, fully supported FasCat training camp.
Yeah. Stoked to share this with you all. So it's in Santa Ynez. That's also where Solvang is, if you know that city. There, it's the Santa Ynez Valley. It's on the other side of the mountain from Santa Barbara on the coast of California. And you just go over the mountain, you drop into this amazing valley. It's got flat roads. It's got tons of climbing, very little cars. When you get there, it's extremely rural, and you're like, wow, I'm so close to Los Angeles. And it just feels, it's great for riding because there's not many cars. And then I
think some folks probably remember like the Solvang time trial from Amgen Tour of California.
That's right. Yeah.
Many years.
Also, Solvang first came on my radar in the U.S. Postal days when they first had their training camps there. And they kind of like unlocked that place to the cycling community. And I did 2 training camps there with the Priority Health team in 2006, 2007. These were preseason camps, pre-Tour of California camps. And they were awesome. I mean, we rented a big old horse ranch house. They had horses in the back and like a giant 4-car garage. And, we set up a service course there, and we rode big climbs, big miles every day. We did Mount Figueroa. We did Mount Gibraltar. We rode by Michael Jackson's Neverland Ranch. There's wineries. The weather was primo, not too hot, not too cold. Yeah, it's a great place. And if anyone remembers Ask a FasCat number 24, Brian Benitez won the most thoughtful question. He's like, FasCats, where in the world would you have a training camp? And we did our research, and we settled on Santa Ynez, Solvang.
Question answered, Brian.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll see you there, Brian. We hope. We are also doing this camp with our friends at the Cycling House, which you may have heard us podcast from this past February. And the Cycling House has put together a wonderful camp with chef-prepared meals, airport pickups, SAG support. They're going to help us lead all the rides. And all the lodging is included. So it's going to be another great 5-night, 4-day training camp.
Yeah, that one in Arizona was sweet. Like be able to show up and do what we all dream of, which is like just ride your bike. Yeah. Don't even have to come up with routes. There's routes are set out for you. There's ride leaders. If you get a flat, there's a car behind. Yeah, which also has food, and then breakfasts are delicious, and dinners are even better, and it's ridiculously good.
It's pretty awesome. I just like put the food in front of my face.
Yeah, so that's April 7 to 12. You can look for details on our website. Only 15 spots, so you want to jump on that one. Another announcement: our Ventum deal is still rolling. If you want a chance to win a Ventum GS1, sign up for an annual optimized subscription with the code Ventum10. That gets you, regardless, a great deal with 10% off on optimized, but also a chance to win a sweet gravel bike.
Yeah. Just remember to use the code. That's how we're tracking entries, Ventum10. And that's good for the annual subscription. It gets the price down 10%.
Any other announcements before we jump into it? I think we are good. We talked Ask FasCat Castelli kit. Yeah.
That's going to be awesome. One other thing I'm super excited to share with you all. We'll have more details coming out, but since you heard it here first, we are putting together a FasCat athlete sponsorship program, and we have 8 young athletes that are going to represent FasCat for the 2024 season. And it has been so fun working with them already to get them all set up and onboarded, not only with Optimize, but they'll receive free coaching for the whole entire year from the FasCat coaches. And they have demonstrated an enormous amount of potential already, and we're really excited to help them bring them to you on a podium next year.
Yeah, so just watch our FasCat Instagram account for stories of these folks now as we roll out the program, and then all next year. We're looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Harnessing the potential of youth out there. Now we're talking harnessing the potential of yourself with the gym or gym alternatives. You may have tuned into such previous podcasts as How to Lift Weights for Cycling, where we went over what has been Frank's longtime go-to trio of the squat, the leg press, and the leg curl, which increases your power output. That's what you're after with those. And we're certainly not walking back any of that. We will stand by that.
Yes.
But there are also some additional things you can do. And so that's what this podcast is all about. So first, Frank, I want to say, what are the other movements we can do? Then I want to talk about when, or I want you to talk about when to do them.
Yeah.
And like in the hows and the why. So let's just start with the why first. Like, why do something besides the squat, the leg press, the leg curl?
I'm glad you asked. Thank you. Yeah. So, we were joking about FTFP earlier, and we, for best results, if you can, do squat, leg press, leg curl. That's for the best results. Those are the exercises we've had the most success with. And over the, because we've been working with this program for so long, over the years, and coaching athletes through this program, we've gotten the questions, well, I can't do this for this reason. And we've come up with alternative solutions. And that's what we're going to talk about. But 3 years ago, we couldn't go to the gym. And so we came up with an at-home 10-week weightlifting program. And so we developed that as a substitute for the leg press and the leg curl. We helped a run on squat racks. Because we just couldn't take that out because, to Dr. Stacy Sims, you got to lift heavy shit. We in order for this program to be effective, you have to do that. And so the squat was one exercise that athletes could go out and invest in and put in their garage, their man cave, their lady cave. We had athletes putting it in their backyards. And so it works. So the at-home weightlifting plan is you still got to squat, and then we brought in a Viper and kettlebells, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But that was the reason. COVID, gyms closed, so that's one form of alternative movements.
Yeah.
But the other reason is, oftentimes the squat, if you have a bad back, or maybe you've had knee surgery. Generally, we don't recommend you squat if you got a bad back or bad knees. And so that has come up over the years. And so we'll talk about what to do there. And then what to do if your gym doesn't have a leg press. So there's that. And there's a lot of other alternative movements you can do along the way that you may prefer. This is not to say don't take this podcast and do these alternative movements when you can do the leg press, the squat, and the leg curl. If you can, stick with that, because I do think those will net you the best results. So, but that's like the backstory of how these alternative movements came to be.
And then like another category of alternative movements would be like alternatives to the main three, but things off the bike exercises that you can and perhaps should do. And many of these are baked into the plans, whether that's doing foundations or doing just some basic movements like the fire hydrant.
Yes.
Or some yoga.
Yes. So
not a replacement for the main three, but just some non-bike workouts. I think some folks many come to FasCat for workouts. And like we're talking about with the taper plan, sometimes the plans can be surprising when it's not just here's your interval set. Sometimes there are other things in the plan, like rest or do some yoga or strengthen your back. So there's other these are like another category of alternative.
That's correct. Yeah. And another time of the year we get, this goes to the question, can I lift year round? And it's kind of sort of maybe yes, but no. It depends. But what Ben just mentioned, foundations, Revo, some kettlebell swings, light ones, hip mobility, that's the type of strength and conditioning work you can do year round. And it's also, if you're super type A and you can't take a rest day, you got to do something. It's also movements you can do on Mondays and Fridays to facilitate recovery and still feel like you did something.
You did the workout. Yeah.
You did something that contributes, helps with forward progress. And I'm a huge fan of yoga because I believe just about everyone needs to chill out, and yoga is great at helping you do that.
Now let's go through these one by one. Mm-hmm. What's a Smith machine?
Yeah, so the Smith machine, we kind of teased out what it was in the last episode when we were talking about the weightlifting for cycling. So the Smith machine is a machine that looks like a squat cage. You'll find it at the gym, and it's got a bar on it. You can use it to bench press, but also to squat. It moves up and down in a vertical plane, and it moves on a track, and so it cannot go forward or backwards, and it's very safe. And the reason why you want to use a Smith machine is maybe you've never done a free squat. And by free squat, what we mean is you're in it's just the bar on your back. So like imagine like a broom handle with a bar on your back, and there's nothing attached to it, and you can, it can swing side to side. You can move forward and backwards. It requires a lot of core stability. Whereas the Smith machine, it's not going anywhere, and it's way safer if you're new to squats. And all you do is you put the weight on and you get underneath it, and it's generally lower. It's on the rack and it's lower than like your shoulders. So you bend down to get underneath it, and you just put the bar on your shoulders behind your neck, and you just raise it up a little, and then it's got a bar. What you do is you kind of twist the bar, and that takes the hooks and removes them from the safety, and then you just lower it down, and it's extremely, extremely safe. It's not quite as good as the free squat because it doesn't force your core stability. However, you're still going to lift really heavy with it, and especially if you're just not feeling comfortable doing the free squat yet, Smith machine is a great intro machine. And you can also do a front squat with the Smith machine, but you can put like really heavy weight. If like we have you set your 1RM, which is the most weight you can lift just once. The Smith machine is kind of nice because if you're nervous about that, all you have to do is twist those hooks, and they hook right in, and then you can get out of the squat. And the free squat, you can get out of it. It's just because you're in that cage. Make sure you're lifting in a cage because that's the safety mechanism. So the regular squat, you get underneath, you put it on your back, you raise it up, but then you got to back up to get out of the safety, So that's the safety feature of the free squat, as long as you're in a cage, that is.
Yeah, so two and one alternatives to the free squat. Another alternative to the squat is a single-legged lunge with weight not on your shoulders but elsewhere, like a kettlebell or a barbell. How does that work, and how is that different, better, worse than a free squat? Yeah.
Let me answer that, and then I do want to come back to the front squat.
Okay, sorry,
also.
Jumping ahead.
No, that's okay because I mentioned it. So the single-legged lunges, say your right knee is bad and it doesn't really tolerate heavy weight bending down low. Maybe you have an old ski injury, maybe you're a skier, you've just been hitting the moguls, and you've had knee surgery, and it's not your knee's not ready for prime time, right? So squats are out, maybe even leg press. But the single-legged lunges, so you can do this body weight, you can do this at home, so it's just So when we say single-legged, so it's right leg, left leg, and you're just lowering your weight down. There's a variety of ways. You can do single-legged jump squats. You can do single-legged lunges. You can do Russian deadlifts, and you can use barbells. You can use kettlebells. During COVID, we had athletes using gallon jugs of water and worked just the same. But that's like, you can do body weight, barbells, bigger barbells, or, it's just, you can kind of adjust it like that. And so getting back to the reason why you might want to do them is so you may not have a squat. You're not comfortable with the squat. Your back will not tolerate a squat. So guess what? You don't have on a single-legged lunge. You don't have anything on your back because you're holding it in your hands, but you're still getting the hip mobility, the knee mobility, and the ankle mobility exercises. So you're still getting those muscle groups without any stress to your back.
Yeah, still working the glutes, still working.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
all the main chain involved in pedaling a bike.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's oftentimes, I tell athletes this, especially once the power meter companies came up with left-right power and everyone's like concerned about not being 50-50. It's like, oh, there's nothing we can really do about it now, but in the off season, we'll do single-legged lunges, right leg, left leg, and balance you back out. So if anyone has had a knee injury or, they have to take time off and they're like, oh, my left leg is just not as strong anymore, we'll get you in the gym. You'll do those single-legged lunges, right leg, left leg, and let your left leg catch back up to your right leg to balance it out. Because when you're doing a squat, you can do single-legged lunges, squats. That's more an advanced lift. But when you're doing single-legged lunges with like kettlebells, even in a squat, what you're doing is you're isolating that left leg as opposed to balancing it out. And then if you have a imbalance, oftentimes that right will overcompensate. And you just won't, it's just isolating that left leg to bring it back up to, let's say 50-50.
Yeah, no, I haven't thought about that, but that makes good sense. And that's a pretty simple way to, ascertain if there is a big imbalance or not.
Yeah.
Just staring at flickering numbers in that left-right split on your computer.
Yeah.
That's a good way to crash, if nothing else. Just fixating on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, never mind the whole plus or minus 1 or 2% power meter discrepancy between left and right, or if it's just a single meter that's guesstimating effectively what your left right is. There's a whole lot of question as to how valid that data is to begin with, but a very caveman simple way to tell is if on your left leg you can do 15 lunges and on your right you can do 4.
Yeah.
That's a notable discrepancy, and then just work on the weak side until it's back up to snuff with the strong side. That's
that's been the answer.
Simple's good.
Simple is good. That's been the answer for years with the left-right power measurement. It's really tough to do something in the season until you get into the weight room and you do those exercises. Also, the fixed gear, we talked about it on the podcast last week. Get on the fixed gear or even the rollers. And then doing single-legged pedal drills as well.
I'm just thinking back to the podcast we did in Arizona, was which numbers matter. And that was a fun one for me, listening to the different coaches' views. And we had some athletes there, want to know, what about this metric? What about that metric? And I remember Coach Jake saying, like, man, I'm just trying to get people to ride their bike most of the time. Like, don't obsess about one very obscure metric on your computer.
Yeah.
All that said, how much do you as a coach pay attention to left-right power in the files of an athlete? Is that something that you care about at all or on its own, or is that something that you only look into when an athlete brings it up?
Day to day, I do not look at left-right power. I look at just total power when I analyze the power file. I will look at it if an athlete brings it up or asks the question. Rarely do they do much anymore. If I know the athlete has had knee surgery or had an injury, then we may take a look at left-right power. But by and large, I'm not paying attention to it day to day. Yeah. Unless the athlete prompts me.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Some other alternatives to the squat.
Yeah.
A deadlift with a trap bar.
Mm-hmm.
For people who aren't muscle heads, what is a deadlift and what is a trap bar?
Yeah. I'm going to answer the deadlift, and then we're not going to forget this front squat.
Oh, that's okay.
That's all right. That's all right. So the deadlift with the trap bar. All right. So I want to address something. So social media.
Always the source of truth. Never any conflicting information.
So you are going to see a lot of people on social media doing deadlifts. It looks cool. It looks badass. It just so happens there's a very good North American former world champion that crushes deadlifts on social media. Yeah. And so athletes ask me all the time, should I be doing deadlifts? Now, here's my position on deadlifts. And Coach Andrew is a very big fan of deadlifts, but he is half my age. And as we get old, we got to protect the back. And so the deadlift is a lift. Imagine you just done your squats. And so you got those big 45-pound plates, and those plates sit on the ground. And the deadlift is basically bending over, but you're not bending your back. You're bending your ankles, your knees, and your hips. You're keeping your back straight, and then you're with outstretched arms lifting up that bar. And the trap bar is this. It's like a trapezoidal shaped bar, so also with the same weight on either side, but you stand inside it, and then you're able to hold the trap bar to the side of your hips versus the deadlift on a squat bar. It's basically you're holding it in front of your knees.
Yeah, and you've got to watch out for the kneecaps as the bar is going up and going down, whereas when you're inside the bar, it's like lifting 2 suitcases. So in some ways it's similar to like the lifting kettlebells as far as like where your arms are going, because your arms are just straight down to the side. Yeah,
you could totally do deadlifts with kettlebells. And the thing about deadlifts, and I just mentioned ankles, knees, hips, but when you get sloppy, when you get tired, the inclination is to use your back or bend your back. And I am all about safety in the weight room, and it's a riskier lift for your back. Me, myself, and I have tweaked our back doing deadlifts. This is how I know. And I did it 15 years ago, and I did it 3 years ago because I don't learn. But I was like, I'm smarter, wiser now. I'll try the deadlift. Same injury. So look, folks, it's a great exercise, and Andrew is 25, and I'm over 50, and he may not be. I don't know Andrew's exact age. Sorry, Andrew. He's actually older than that. No offense. It's just a more advanced lift. And so if you can do the squat, just do the squat. It's much less chance of injury. The deadlift is super cool. It's a great exercise, hits all the major cycling muscle groups. Your back is more at risk, and you have to be really, really extremely good with your technique. So that's the deadlift. And speaking of technique, let's circle back to the front squat. Yeah. Front squat. Okay, so the front squat, just imagine you've done your squat and you just put it on the back of your neck on the shoulder. So you're not putting it on your neck. It's just behind your neck on your shoulders. You can put the squat bar, so you hold your hands a little bit different. So for those of you on YouTube, your hands are like this, and so you're basically just holding the squat bar in front of your, is this your sternum? Your top
sternum.
Of your sternum.
So wrists are still facing forward.
Yeah.
As they are in a traditional squat, but the bar is on the other side of your head.
Exactly, the other side of your head. Yeah. And so we got a great video over on YouTube where really awesome friend and personal trainer Erin Carson she basically shows you how to do a squat. So go over to check out our YouTube channel. She shows you how to do a back squat and a front squat, and she shows you the difference using me of the back and the front, the advantages of doing a front squat. It sets your body up to get it's safer, and it's just your back isn't bent over as much, and it results in just better movement for cycling. So that's the front squat, and it's almost hard to describe it. You just got to go watch it.
Video is good for that.
Yeah.
Those are all the squat and these squat alternatives as far as a win. This very much falls in the off-season time. Frank was mentioning, like, when do you lift? Can you lift throughout the season? Well, yes, kind of, sort of, no, it depends. Big lifting we recommend is an off-season thing. So all these squat alternatives we described would fall in there. And for folks who didn't catch the last podcast on weightlifting for cycling, or who haven't been reading the training tips, you've been writing about this for years and years and years. How would you recommend someone starting, as far as, trying to avoid the lessons you have learned the hard way of lifting too much? How do you get started in terms of like weight and number of reps when you're doing these heavier lifts?
The best way to get started in that resolve is just to follow our 10-week weightlifting training plan, because that's where all the details is. And if you want to hear about it, it's start with 0 pounds on the bar, teach your body how to do that movement, work your way up a little bit each time you go back to the gym over the course of weeks, not days. So, you could go to the gym and you could put a ton of weight up on the bar and you could do it, and the next day you're shuffling, you're walking sideways. So that really doesn't do as much good. But and I'm not trying to be like salesy here with this 10-week weightlifting plan, but it's got all the details of what to do and when, the 4 phases, how much weight you put on the bar, how many sets, how many times you go to the gym, the time in between the gyms, how much you bike ride in between your weightlifting. It's extremely specific, and it does so by calculating when you lift heavy, when you lift medium, and when you lift light. It's all based on numbers, and we give you the exact amount to put on the bars for every single weight workout.
Yeah, and it is a steady, progressive thing. And in addition to the structure and the thought and the science behind all this, the results-based reasoning for the plan, part of it being very helpful is kind of like the taper plan of like telling you, take it easy, my friend.
Yeah. Hey, we know what we're doing here. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. But yeah, that would be the easiest way to get started. I mean, you can listen to our podcast and read the training tips for sure and put something together. But when you really want the detailed nitty gritty, it's just like we say, just, if you can follow a plan, you could run faster.
Yeah. So we talked alternatives to the squat. Are there any alternatives to the leg press? And is that even a thing? And then like leg curl, I'm guessing that would be pretty darn difficult unless we're talking about some bands. But
yeah,
I don't know what you're going to say, so I'm going to ask you both. Are there alternatives to either of those exercises?
Yeah. So, we talked earlier in the podcast about COVID and gyms are closed. And, I've met one athlete in 20 years that has a leg press at home. And he was a former, like, really serious weightlifter before he came into cycling. So it's not an item you can just go out and buy and bring home because it's got a large footprint and it's extremely big and heavy. And generally, they're only found at gyms. And so what was the substitute during COVID? We just decided not to even try. So what we did is we came up with alternative movements that hit the same muscle groups that focused on single-legged swing. So the kettlebell and the viper. And I'll get to the viper in a minute. But it's like holding a big log, like the size. Just imagine like holding a telephone pole about 6 feet, 6 feet long in different weight increments. But if you're at a gym that does not have a leg press, there are some Nautilus machines that replicate a leg press a little bit. You can't quite lift as heavy because when you do a leg press, a real traditional leg press at the gym, it's at a 45-degree angle, so that halves the amount of weight that you can do. So when you do the squat, it's 100% up and down. Think of the gravity. And then the leg press is, remember that 45-degree angle? So generally, most athletes can lift a lot more. So now you're putting one plate on the squat rack, and you're putting like 2 or 3 or 4 on the leg press. So this is like, you feel like, yeah, rah, at the gym.
Yeah.
Until you get like, you're like 6 weeks into it, and it takes you like 5 minutes to re-rack the leg press. Okay, but the point is, really difficult to find a substitute for the leg press. The Nautilus machines get to those movements, but you just generally don't wind up lifting near as much. I mean, I think I traditionally don't wind up lifting a lot compared to a lot of other guys, but a lot of guys are in like the 300-400 pounds for the leg press, just due to it being at that 45-degree angle, and you cannot do this movement wrong. It's locked in. You got safety latches. It moves in a plane. You lower it down and you lift it back up, and yeah, it's awesome. Yeah. So that leads us into the Viper and the kettlebell, because during COVID, when we came up with the at-home plan, no chance of getting a leg press. So we didn't want to. You can do more squats, the same muscle groups, but we were like, okay, what's movements that you can, you don't need a lot of equipment, and then you can do at home during COVID. And so the kettlebell and the Viper. And the Viper was introduced to me by, again, Aaron Carson, great personal trainer. And so it's like a log, and this log has handles, and it's diabolical, the amount of benefit you can do to yourself. Let's call it benefit, because you can do some Viper swings and like it's tough to walk the next day. But what you're doing, go to our website. We have the Aaron literally showing me how to do Viper swings and kettlebells, and but it's, so you're holding it with your hands and you're moving it across your body, and you're doing these lunges, right leg, left leg, swinging the Viper tube. And whoo, does it get your glutes and your hamstrings? It's amazing. So we did that all 2020, all 2021. It's a great movement. You can find a Viper on the internet for, the Viper is the brand name, but Amazon has more affordable versions. You could probably find some for anywhere from $50 to $150. And they come in different weights. So don't buy the biggest one. What I did, I bought like the 10 kilogram one, and it's so heavy, man. You can do like 1 or 2 swings and then you're sore. Get the really light one. Really emphasize the movement. Your body weight is going to be great, but when you swing like the 3 kilogram, the 5 kilogram, super good. You can do a ton of those movements. So that was our alternative for the leg press. It's not even the same movement. You can't lift super heavy shit with the Viper, but you can do a lot of reps, and it's really good for hip mobility and getting your glutes involved into the power production. And then the second movement that we brought in was the kettlebells. And so I'm sure this is similar to the deadlift on social media. You've seen a lot of people swinging kettlebells, and shout out to our friend Derek over at Dialed Health, who's a professional kettlebell swinger in the best of way. And, so, I mean, it's an incredible exercise. And if you just go to our website, we got the very basic kettlebell swing. And the biggest thing that Aaron taught me when doing kettlebell swings is like, let your butt do the work. And we as cyclists, we're so quad dominant. If you can use your time in the weight room to develop your glutes and your hamstrings to get those involved in the power production, that's where you're going to derive more watts. And the kettlebell swing will help you. So again, it's one of those things, bend at the hips, bend at the knees, do not bend your back. And yeah, you just swing that sucker. And we have all you can do different weights. So like during the heavy, you swing the bowling ball size. And then during the power, you swing like the little bell, and you do it nice and fast. And so those are the 2 alternatives to the leg press in our at-home weightlifting plan.
Kettlebell swing, speaking of seeing lots of things on Instagram, one common kettlebell thing is bending down with one leg going up into the air, like in your torso going down.
Yeah. Yeah.
With kettlebell swing, what you're talking about is when it's between your legs, right? And you squat down to grab it, and then you're standing up and thrusting your hips forward and swinging the kettlebell forward. This is the movement you're talking about, just to be clear.
Yes. Yeah. When done right, the upper range of that kettlebell is like head high, and then you let it naturally swing back, and it swings underneath, in between your knees, back underneath your butt, and then it's just like it's on just a up down. You really don't stop. It's like this continuous movement.
Yeah, it definitely puts your back into it and your core, and your arms are holding onto the thing, but it's not an arm workout.
Yeah, your arms aren't really doing.
Your arms
much.
are there for the pendulum effect.
That's right. Yeah.
Next type of movement, unless I've missed something like the front squat over and over again.
Nope. We're good. We're on track.
Okay. It's like the more, any time of year type things to do for those off days when you're itching to do something, put something in the training diary.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I was going to say, what should people be doing? I know what my FasCat plans have been saying for years.
Yeah.
And are now saying and optimized, but what do you suggest people do on off days? Again, just no longer talking about the big heavy lifting off season, but just the general body maintenance, strength and conditioning, flexibility, be balancing out what's often a very two-dimensional cyclist body.
Yeah. So what we recommend is what we call Revo Foundations Yoga. And those of you familiar with our in-season, once you get out of the weight room, we prescribe those to you every Monday and Friday because you're not riding the bike that day. And for those of you that want to do something, you can do the Revo exercises where you take the bands. Think of like adult-size rubber bands, like a physical therapy bands. It costs like $8 on Amazon. And you just put those around your knees. And you do what's called a hydrant. We got a video demonstrating how to do it. And then you put the bands around your ankles. And then you do what's called a skate. And again, we have that video. And it's incredible work to do. It's like glute activation, good for glute activation. It's good for just general recovery. You feel like it takes like all of 10 minutes tops. And then we have you do the foundations work.
But jumping real quick, so Frank's calling these Revo because there is an excellent physical therapy establishment here in Boulder, Colorado called Revo, who has videoed a number of these movements, and that's what we have in our plans and on site. So this is one of those things where a picture's worth 1,000 words, and a video of a particular type of workout is worth 100,000.
Yeah.
And that is much easier to show than try to tell you in a podcast. But that's what we're talking about. We're talking about Revo is a great PT shop that exemplifies a few of these type of band movements. Yeah, they just take a few minutes and they're surprisingly challenging and surprisingly rewarding. Like, I did something, feeling parts of like the sides of the hips that you don't really feel when pedaling in a.
It's a new muscle I didn't. Yeah. Shout out to Matt and Dane at Revo. They were the ones that introduced me. And so those bands that you buy on Amazon, they come in a pack of like 6. And there's the super easy to stretch band, and then there's the big thick one that's really difficult to stretch. And that one takes more oomph to stretch. So start off with the easy one and work your way up.
At our house, we've got a stack of these. Some from my physical therapy over the years, or some from doing Revo, some from the kiddos' physical therapy coming back from various injuries. So chances are your household is probably the same. You may have some of these bands already tucked away in your workout box somewhere.
Yeah. Or $8 on Amazon.
Yeah. Doesn't need to be complicated or expensive to be effective or time consuming.
And, so again, like what Ben was saying, you can do these twice a week. You can do them every day. Some athletes like to do them before they get on the bike, kind of like a warm-up. Like a little
activation type
thing.
thing.
We call them activation. So activate your muscles. But it's like a warm-up before the warm-up or the off-the-bike warm-up. But, this is the type of work you can do year-round that generally doesn't introduce any stress that's going to conflict with your recovery and your power output. So yeah, really good. So when we talk about should you lift year round, when we say yes, but no, kind of maybe sort of depends. The Revo is what you can do year round.
Similarly, foundations.
Yeah.
Has been my favorite go-to video to do myself and recommend to others. Frank is demonstrating one of the movements where it looks simple, like just squatting down and holding your hands up in line with your torso.
Yeah.
And it is easy for the first second. And then after 5 seconds, not so much. And then by the end, like not even by the end of this 12 minutes, like usually halfway through.
Twinging.
Yeah, just trembling.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I'm going to stand up for just a second or two and shake it off. Okay, now I'll go back and...
Yeah. Yeah. So Dr. Eric Goodman is the inventor of foundations. He is a chiropractor doctor in Southern California, and he says, do this every day, no back pain ever. And it really is true. And we've talked about foundations periodically over the life of the podcast. And, for everyone that's got steamboat gravel fresh in their mind when their back starts hurting at mile 75 and they got 25 to go, no, you didn't do your foundations. Or
now that cross is no longer coming, but cross is in fact here. I'm guessing there's more than a couple of you out there with cross back.
Yes.
Coming into full swing. So
yeah. So
you know of what we speak.
Yes. I mean, if your back gets sore in a cross race, do your foundations. It takes 12 minutes. No excuse for you not to do it. You can make it. You can watch this video on your phone from our app or on YouTube while you're making your coffee or doing whatever. You don't need any equipment. I've heard about athletes doing it on the airplane, like in the back galley.
Yeah, I can see that, like transatlantic flight or something like this.
Yeah. So again, this is movements. I think you should be doing this at a minimum twice a week. Some athletes will do it every day, per Dr. Eric Goodman. Twice a week is great for me. I can stay consistent, and I don't feel guilty for missing it every day.
Mm-hmm. Again, that's why I appreciate just having it on the schedule.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh yeah, something to do it, check it off the to-do list, move on.
No back pain ever.
Tell us about yoga. Are you a yoga cat?
Yeah.
You profess
Yeah.
about yoga. Do yoga yourself? I don't go to a yoga studio, so I can say I've never seen you in a yoga studio, but I don't know if you frequent the studio or do yoga often at home.
Admittedly, I've been a little lax since COVID, and I need to fix that. I think as soon as I get past the BWR and the Big Sugar, I'm going to lift weights and get back into my yoga routine. So I've talked about this. We've podcasted about yoga before. My thing with yoga, so we give you yoga videos you can do from within the app. We partnered with a group called Glow. They're formerly Yoga Glow, and you get a free membership. And you can go there. You can type in cycling, and that pulls up 37 cycling-specific yoga classes. And you can do those. You can find the ones that you like, and you can do yoga every Monday and Friday. I'm like, I get OCD or type A or I'm like hummingbird brain when I try to do yoga at home. I need to go to a studio where there's nothing but me to do is concentrate. It's like Simon Says for adults. You just listen to the yoga teacher and do what you say. And I love it. But when I'm at home, it's like the cat comes up or, someone rings the doorbell or, you hear the notifications on your phone. I know we can fix all that, but I love going to yoga in the studios, and I need to get back to doing that. If we've talked about this at length, start at home, use the Yoga Glow classes. That starts with like 10-minute, super beginner friendly. You can progress to more intermediate, more advanced classes. The cool thing about those classes in the app is that if you got 15 minutes, there's a class for you. The challenge of going to the studio is it takes like 2 hours by the time you dress, you drive there, you do an hour class, you drive home, you shower, eat. So it's like a 2-hour swing. So it's tough to do during the day. It's great. It's like if you want to like sleep soundly, go do a yoga class in the evening. whew, man, it's like lights out. But anyway, I'm a big fan of it. And so here's the reason, you guys. So the foundations, the hip mobility, the kettlebell swings, you're going to do all those movements generally in a sequence of yoga poses that it kind of brings it all together. And so it's not just this wooey thing that you're doing with breathing exercises, although those are good for you too. Mm-hmm. It really brings it together, breath to movement. And it's great for, I referenced this in the podcast last week. If you want to do planks and upper body strengthening movements, you'll get it in yoga. Some the yoga poses, if you go on to advance more and more and more, it takes a lot of upper body strength. I don't even have it. I cannot do a handstand because I'm like T-Rex upstairs. Mm-hmm. And but that's like a big yoga pose. And some of the other yoga poses that required a lot of shoulder strength and that you're on your hands, I hadn't gotten there yet. But yeah, if you're looking to round out your weightlifting, I think yoga is a good addition to your routine for numerous benefits.
A regular heckle of my wife to me is when I'm doing PT for some injury or physical breakdown or another. I'll be doing something that's been specifically assigned, like, oh, here's an exercise, it's a strength exercise or it's a recovery thing, and she's like, you realize you're doing yoga now, don't you? Like, that's, I can't tell you how many times she has enjoyed throwing that in my face, because often I would heckle her about what you were saying of yoga being a wooey om shanti shanti.
Yes.
More of a spiritual thing than a grunting physical thing. But turns out it can be both, and you can skew it in one way or the other. But yeah, can be a great workout, even when you're not doing it for a specific physical reason. So a lot of different ways to come to find yourself doing the same thing. And
yeah, and we talk about trying not to be like one-dimensional cycling all year round. Yeah, get into the yoga studio. It's like one less Zwift ride, maybe. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's good for you. Yeah.
Yes, a new, fresh thing mentally, and as you said, it's pretty easy to FTF yoga P when there's an adult there telling you exactly what that plan is, one step at a time.
Simon says.
Yeah, I'm just feeling my hands and my upper body a bit from this kitchen remodel that's been coming at me. I just remember Jeremy Horgan-Kabelski talking about, at the time he was racing the Olympics and was doing a remodel project with his wife Heather, and he's like, there's an inverse correlation. Like, the better you are at bike racing, sometimes the worse you are at other things.
That's right. Yeah.
Not to say I'm not trying to equate myself in any way, shape, or form to Jeremy on the bike, but I can say I'm appreciating my shortcomings and the potential for improvement in upper body strength, and just by doing some like manual labor the last few days. So hopefully that's good cross training for the bike. It's
probably good for your Viper swings.
Yeah.
The sledgehammer / Viper swing.
I have been inadvertently following Dr. Stacy Sims' plans of picking up and lifting heavy stuff.
Yeah.
Well, folks, that has concluded our 8th and final off-season how-to series. We hope this has been helpful for you as you look back at your 2023 season and then look ahead to your 2024. I mean, a big part of it is learning as we go, right? Whether that's on your own or hopefully through the FasCat community, as we're taking our collective trials and errors and knowledge learned along the way and helping everybody move forward. Again, if you've got questions about some of this off-season stuff, holler at us. We've got Ask FasCat number 25 coming up next podcast, and you can get your question in, or if I should say you get your question in before Tuesday, October 3rd, you'll have a chance to win a sweet Castelli kit. And regardless, you'll have a chance to get your specific training question answered.
Yeah.
So with that, we will leave it there, and we will talk at you next week. But in the meantime, we will remind you to
work hard, ride fast, have fun, and as always, FTFE.